Today is February 18th, sharing an update on the war here in Israel versus the terrorist organization Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Shalom, friends. This is Akiva Gersh with Israel in 5, where we give you everything Israel in 5 minutes. Please like and subscribe, and feel free to leave comments and ask questions down below in the comments to keep the conversation going. Wanted to share with you some updates on this ongoing war between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip that started on October 7th with the barbaric attack on Israel from thousands of Hamas terrorists flooding into Israel, attacking communities, massacring Israelis, raping women, destroying property, and taking hundreds of hostages. This is by far one of the worst things, if not the worst thing, Israel has ever dealt with since its creation in 1948, and its second longest war just after the War of Independence of 1948. A few updates this past week. Rockets bombarded the northern city of Tzfat, injuring many civilians and killing one as well, a soldier, actually. And that was a huge red line crossed, and Israel hit back very, very hard. As you might know, since the fight with Hezbollah started in the wake of this fight against Hamas, there's basically two wars really going on. There's Israel against Hamas and Israel against Hezbollah, though the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah hasn't reached yet the status of a full-blown war. It definitely seems like it's getting closer and closer to that, as there are daily attacks, daily rocket fire, and of course Israel is responding to all of them. There are tens of thousands of troops on the border, and many of the communities up there have been evacuated since the beginning of this war, still not able to go home. In addition, this past week, we saw one of the most amazing moments of this entire war, where special IDF forces rescued two Israeli hostages kept in captivity in the Gaza Strip since October 7th, a 60-year-old and a 70-year-old man, both freed from a house that they were being held hostage in Rafah, in the southern area of Gaza that we've been talking about now for the past few weeks. An incredible collaboration of Air Force, of tank units, of special forces and others coming together to surround this house, to raid this house, to kill the terrorists who were watching these two Israeli hostages, and free them and bring them back to Israel healthy and well, and return them to their freedom. One of the most emotional moments of this rescue is that when they were bringing these two hostages out of the house, the IDF special forces were literally surrounding these two hostages with their own bodies to protect them from any possible gunfire from terrorists in the area before bringing them to safety and freedom. An amazing moment for Israel. Hopefully we'll see more moments like this. What else can we say? Israel reveals more information about UNRWA, the United Nations organization, which is responsible for taking care of Palestinian refugees, including those in the Gaza Strip. And it has come out there that there is 1,500 workers in the agency that had links to the terrorist organization Hamas, and 12 that took direct participated directly in the October 7th attack, with 30 more assisting. This is a horrendous thing. A UN organization, sponsored by and supported by countries around the world, taking part in such a horrible and vicious attack on Israel. Many countries have already taken away their aid. And it could mean that this agency actually can no longer function because of the lack of funds. Of course, the fighting continues in the Gaza Strip, and all eyes are on Rafah, which has been that way for a couple of weeks now, waiting to see what happens there, as Israel has pretty much conquered the northern part of the Gaza Strip, the central part, and now has gone down to the southern part, where the last real stronghold of Hamas remains. There's 4 battalions there that Israel must take out in order to win this war and to defeat Hamas. There's been a lot of international pressure on Israel to not do so, or at least to evacuate all the civilians there first. It's a very, very tense situation, very complicated situation, because over 1 million Gazans are in that area. Many of them haven't come to that area since the beginning of the war, after their areas were no longer safe for them to live in, and Israel evacuated them from those areas, and they arrived in the south. Israel has no choice The only way to win this war, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says this over and over again, and other political and military leaders in Israel, that the only way to officially and completely defeat Hamas is by taking them out in Rafah, and that they will do everything that they can do to ensure the safety of the civilians, just like Israel has done in the other parts of the Gaza Strip. Egypt has brought troops to the border between Egypt and the Gaza Strip. Rafah sits right on the border with Egypt. And they've even, you might have seen videos or images of this, but they've even added to their wall, to their fence, by building a wall along the border with Gaza Strip and Egypt, which really shows how much they don't want Gazans coming into Egypt if and when they are looking for a new place to live and a new place to be safe. So it's complicated, but at the same time, it's very, very clear what Israel needs to do, and in the right time will do, to fight directly those battalions in the southern part of the Gaza Strip, in the Rafah region. And it's really, again, as we keep saying, only a matter of time until that happens. In other news, unfortunately, there was a terror attack here in Israel this past week in the south as well, just outside of Ashdod, at a bus stop where Israelis were just waiting for the bus. There was an Islamist, jihadist terrorist who came to that area in his car with a loaded gun. And when he saw that bus stop, he chose that place as his target. He did a U-turn, he got out of the car, and he started firing, killing 2 Israelis, injuring others. Thank God, fortunately, he was killed on the spot by a civilian who was carrying a weapon, but unfortunately, not quick enough before he was able to take the lives of 2 innocent Israelis just sitting at the bus waiting to get somewhere. And unfortunately, that has been part of the reality here in Israel for many, many years and even decades. And that's exactly what Israel is fighting against, and has been fighting and will continue to fight against, to ensure the security and the safety of its civilians and its citizens. Many, as I mentioned before, I'll mention again, I personally have many friends who have been in the reserves since October 7th, away from their families and their jobs and their kids and their wives and their normal lives for many, many months. Many of them are coming home now, but they know that this might just be a pause before they might be called up again, either to the Gaza Strip or up to the north, depending on what happens there. So multiple fronts, multiple things happening, and intense times. But as I always like to say, we appreciate all of your support, all of your prayers, all of your thoughts. Keep them up. We feel them. We appreciate them. Israel will continue to fight this fight until the fight is over, until Hamas is completely destroyed. And again, as Israel keeps saying, against the tides of international pressure, there's no way that we cannot fight in the Rafah region if we want to seek total victory over Hamas, which is exactly what we need, especially after the the October 7th massacre. I'll just add one more update. It's all tied in, and it's all connected here, that some in the international community have been talking more and more about the creation of a Palestinian state in these days, working on a plan that they say they'll present in a few weeks' time. For many Israelis, from political and military leaders down to the civilians, they think it's an absurd thing to say right now while we're fighting this horrible war, this terrible war, this war we never wanted, but this war we know we need to fight. How can you possibly gift the people that we're fighting against a state as a result of what took place just a few months ago? We're hoping for peace. We're praying for peace. Right now, we're fighting for peace. That's what we want to bring to this area, to our country, and to the region. And hopefully we'll see that very, very soon. Thank you so much again for your continued support and your prayers. All the best, and be well.